Huh. It's actually the remnant of the Fenglei family. If it wasn't for your father, who desperately protected you, you might look different now. Bing Tian also looked greedily at the girl in the colorful dress named Feng Yi. Today is your day of death. Feng Yi said plainly, but anyone could see the frenzy in his eyes. Finally, I'm finally going to kill the enemy. Father, I will report your shame. Feng Yi roared in his heart. The entourage who was in charge of protecting the young lady saw that the young lady was emotionally disturbed and hurriedly tried to stop the young lady, but found a dark figure attacking Feng Yi. I can't live, but none of you want to live. Ha! Bing Tian quickly approached Feng Yi. Looking at the icy sky that was rushing towards him, his body was rapidly expanding, and his body was exuding thick black air. Obviously, he wanted to die with Feng Yi. Although the girl in the colorful dress was a little excited, she still did not lose her sense of reason. Seeing Bing Tian whistling towards her, her body was covered in black energy, and she couldn't help frowning slightly, biting her lips lightly. Even in Bing Tian, who was seriously injured now, the girl in the colorful skirt felt a terrifying aura from the black energy. Feng Yi's feet suddenly moved, and her figure quickly swept into the sky. At the same time, her palms were spread out, and in her palms, a trace of silver space power flashed out. Space blockade. The girl in the colorful dress just let out a soft shout, and the space around Bing Tian suddenly fluctuated violently. Immediately, the invisible space seemed to have become substance, turning into a space prison, wrapping Bing Tian in. Condensing such a real space prison is difficult for even the ordinary 4-star Dodi. But Feng Yi, a girl in a colorful skirt, is able to use the tyrannical power of the wind and thunder attributes to display it. Ow! Of course, the most important thing in this is that the wind and thunder attributes originally have a bit of space power, and using this as a medium, she was able to mobilize the space power that is free between heaven and earth. Moreover, the battle between Bing Tian and the bloodthirsty dragon seems to be an understatement, but it is also seriously injured. Although he devoured all the Solomon people in the same way to supplement himself, he still underestimated the bloodthirsty dragon. Although he defeated the dragon in the end, in fact, the last blow of the magic dragon was abruptly and severely injured Bing Tian. Bing Tian, who was seriously injured, saw Feng Yi, a girl in a colorful skirt, and several of his followers, for 3-star fighting emperors. He knew that this time it was going to be damaged here, but he was not reconciled, and he had to drag them to bury them when he died, so there was this scene. The space prison has just taken shape. That Bing Tian's body suddenly swelled to a terrifying level, and immediately, a shocking explosion appeared. Bang! The terrifying black energy air waves, like waves in the sea, swept away in all directions crazily. On the other side, Xiaoyan just saw that Bing Tian's self-destruction, and his soul force spewed out. He walked towards the body of the demon dragon, covering the entire body in a blink of an eye, as if it disappeared and didn't exist in the first place. Notice all this. Fortunately, I caught up. Otherwise, this terrifying self-destruction will shed its skin even if it doesn't die. The girl in the colorful skirt also said to a few followers. After resisting for a while, the space prison burst open directly. As a result, the mountain range in the cave that was originally occupied by the bloodthirsty dragon trembled violently, as if it had been shaken. Huge cracks spread out like spider webs, and the beasts enslaved by the bloodthirsty dragons in the entire mountain range fell into a panic at this moment. The self-destruction, that power, is extremely terrifying. Facing such a terrifying energy storm, Feng Yi, the girl in colorful skirts, could only avoid the edge for a while, and their bodies flickered, appearing directly above the distant sky, staring solemnly at the raging energy below. Lang, being so engaged by Bingtian, almost this mountain range will be turned into ruins. In the distance beyond the mountain range, the red Dochi roared out like a cloud of fire. And on the cloud of fire, a slender figure stood with his hands behind his back. Looking contemptuous, he ignored the many people who went to the main hall, just turned his eyes and cast towards the place where the bloodthirsty dragon was. Apparently, this arrogant son of Wuching also sensed this terrifying energy storm. His face changed at the moment. The two old guys, Bingtian and Bingwu, actually blew themselves up. To be able to force him to this stage, that character is really terrible. Wu Huan suddenly felt a bit bitter in his mouth. The two old men of Bingtian and Bingwu, he himself knows his strength, and he can be regarded as a true pride of heaven if he can force them all. Wu Huan is also very clear, and he is not an indecisive person, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes at the moment. Remembering that the so-called Xiao Yin also went in that direction, he couldn't help saying to himself, "This Xiao Yin is indeed very strange. Even if you are an imperial alchemist, but if you kill Bingwu and Bingtian, it doesn't mean that you will feel better." Solomon will never sit by and watch an elder get killed. Then he, with a gloomy smile, Wu Huan turned his head decisively, waved his hand, and went to the main hall, speeding up again. Somewhere in the mountains, among the three attendants of the girl in the colorful skirt, an old man in white was also startled by Bing Tian's crazy actions, and immediately hurriedly carried Feng. He shuttled through the forest like lightning, and finally his body flashed, landing on the top of a mountain peak. Looking down at the energy storm raging in the mountains could not help but take a breath. This old guy is really crazy. Feng, he was also frightened by the destructive energy below, making her pretty face a little pale. Not everyone can see the self-destruction of a Do D powerhouse. To be able to force a Do D powerhouse to the point of self-destruction, this bloodthirsty dragon is well-deserved. And it is really scary. The white-clothed old man slowly raised his head and looked at the road above the distant sky. "The blurred figure that has fallen," said with some sighs. "But it's strange. The body of the demon dragon was clearly still here just now. Why didn't I find it? It should have disappeared because of his self-destruction. It's a pity, but forget about it. Let's focus on creation first. Let's go, miss. His self-destruction won't even have his soul left. We should go to the main hall," the old man in white said after feeling it. "Go." The girl in the colorful skirt also left quickly. "Is she all right?" Xiao Yin also swept across the sky, but his eyesight was far less than that of his master, so naturally he could not see Feng Yi. What can she do? That hand space blockade directly killed Bingtian's thought of pulling her to death. The Golden Dragon King smiled and shook his head, then said, "But she killed Bingtian. I am afraid that it is a real bad relationship with Solomon, and with Solomon's behavior, he will definitely send strong people to surround and kill him." The raging energy storm in the mountains lasted for about 10 minutes before gradually weakening. During this time, Xiao Yin and Yueru also retreated. This level of self-destruction, the scope of the impact is too large, and the size of the body is too large. It still stayed on the sky, and its eyes were gradually closed. But fortunately, the soul power is strong enough, and the two of them have not been discovered by the girl in the colorful skirt before. The wolf wind blew through the mountains, bringing up yellow dust. The lush green forest and the cave of the bloodthirsty dragon had turned into a piece of mud at this moment. When the last trace of the energy storm slowly dissipated, Xiao Yin and Yuru in the sky just opened their eyes, and their eyes slowly swept across the extremely messy mountain range below and finally fell gently and walked slowly. Going to the place where Bingtian blew up, there was a huge crater several tens of meters in size, and at a glance it was impossible to see the bottom. His eyes swept across the pothole. Xiao Yan's footsteps suddenly came to the giant pit, where there was a slight, inconspicuous light. Cough, cough, cough. Fortunately, I brought a turtle breath pill with me when I came out. This kind of self-destruction can deceive the remnants of the Fenglei family. This time I will go back and clean up this Fenglei family. Even a small Fenglei family wants to compete with our Solomon. It's just over their own capabilities. There were bursts of voices in the weak rays of light. I'm sorry, you may not have this chance. Xiao Yan also appeared at the location of the light like a ghost. The palm of his hand touched the light slowly. A sneer suddenly appeared on the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth. Terrifying flames blasted out fiercely. The ground burst open. The wood chips flew, and an illusory soul escaped in panic, and finally flew towards the sky. Go, and then start to move. The surrounding space is suddenly solidified. Elder Bingtian has a good plan. His body exploded. Relying on the special effect of the medicinal pill, a trace of soul escaped. But it's a pity. Xiao Yan looked at this illusory soul with a smile and said softly, Xiao Yan, don't kill me. We can have a good talk. You don't want to offend a Solomon just like that, right? The soul was trapped and immediately turned into Bingtian's illusory face. At this moment, there was a real sense in his eyes. Fear. If this trace of soul is destroyed by Xiao Yan again, he will really be finished. I don't want to go to this stage either, but someone who doesn't even let off his own brothers. It's really not as good as a beast. Xiao Yan sighed softly, stretched out his palm, and immediately held Bingtian's soul. Xiao Zong, Solomon won't let you go. Just wait to die. Feeling Xiao Yan's killing intent, Bingtian cursed bitterly. Bang! Xiao Yan's face was expressionless, and when he squeezed his palm, Bingtian's soul burst open and immediately turned into a spot of light, which disappeared. Looking at the dissipated soul spots, Xiao Yan knew that Bingtian, the elder of Solomon, had said goodbye to this world completely. Carré fulmined. No retreat to the enemy. Very good. The Golden Dragon King couldn't help but say. In a faraway place, in a quiet wooden house, among the hundreds of plaques, a plaque exploded. The old man on the side closed his eyes and slowly opened his eyes. There was a thick black in his eyes, giving people a strange feeling. How dare you kill me, Elder Solomon? Go on and investigate this person thoroughly. Yes, Sect Master. There was a strong anger in the old man's words, and before the words fell outside the door, someone took action. Yueru blinked suspiciously on the side. She did not see the scene where Xiao Yan destroyed Bingtian's soul, but she felt that her father, who had a high vision in the past, had an extremely high evaluation of Xiao Yan. A faint laughter suddenly sounded on the mountain peak, and Xiao Yan's figure slowly appeared in front of Yueru. Xiao Yan. Seeing Xiao Yan appear, Yueru immediately shouted with joy. The body of the bloodthirsty dragon is still there. You know where the preciousness of this beast mummified corpse is, right? Her eyes were fiery and introverted. Yueru suddenly stared at the body of the demon dragon beside her, and said a little eagerly, apparently not realizing the little trick Xiao Yan had done just now to take advantage of the big explosion. Xiao Yan was obviously frightened by Yueru's question. Looking at the huge, but extremely stiff body of the bloodthirsty dragon in front of him, Xiao Yan also held it and felt it gently. Immediately, he waved lightly with the ancient eternal fire ruler behind him, and the somewhat rigid head of the dragon was like tofu, cracked out of thin air, and the fracture was as smooth as a mirror. A dazzling light flashed out. It's the magic core. That's great. Yueru also smiled at Xiao Yan with great joy, and finally she didn't find out what she was worried about. I will be unhappy. However, Yueru is also concerned and confused. If it exceeds the 8th rank, That is, the magical beasts that are enough to rival the strong Do Sheng will definitely produce magic cores. Let's go. Since the magic core is in hand, let's go to the main hall to have a look. Yuru is also not greedy, since she has both the Crescent Moon Suegwa and the magic core Xiaoyan needs. Then there is nothing. Worried. Wait, this bloodthirsty dragon has treasures all over its body. Xiaoyan also saw it and took a closer look at this huge body. What sharp claws! The sharpness of this thing made Xiaoyan take a breath. Why are you looking at all this garbage? You don't think you have enough time to grab the great fortune. Just the blood of the dragon is useful. You refine these blood. I can feel that these blood contains the talent of bloodthirsty form. Bloodthirsty. I want to rely on the refined blood to be able to display it. The Golden Dragon King also felt the atmosphere. Xiaoyan's head is covered with black lines. This bloodthirsty dragon is still the overlord of one side anyway. So many valuable things in blood and body. How can they become garbage when they reach the mouth of their master? But it's no wonder, considering the status of one's master, this kind of thing is really... Xiaoyan also saw the extraordinary blood from the bloodthirsty form of the bloodthirsty dragon just now, and immediately extracted the blood of the dragon. Breaking open the body of the demon dragon, a aura rushed towards her face. Yuru's face was a little ugly, the scarlet color inside the demon dragon. As the calcination of the flame intensified, it became more and more intense, and at the end, it turned out to be completely condensed together. Immediately, in Xiaoyan's surprised eyes, it turned into a drop of scarlet blood, penetrated along the surface of the flesh and blood, and finally passed through the flame and dripped down. Seeing the blood dripping down on the ground, Xiaoyan's eyes were quickly took out a jade bottle of quite good quality from the ring, and then put the drop of blue-red blood into it. After catching the scarlet blood, Xiaoyan breathed a sigh of relief. He raised his head and glanced at the burning milky white flame, and found that with the dripping of the blue-red blood, the piece of meat turned out to be directly calcined by the flame. In the middle, it turned into nothingness, and not even the ashes were left behind. Looking at the 7 drops of scarlet blood in the jade bottle that did not mix with each other, Xiaoyan had no choice but to shake his head. With a wave of his hand, he put away the flames in front of him, and then grinned and smiled at the jade bottle. In the collection ring, I didn't expect that the body of a demon dragon, which few people in Feng he had not noticed, could be created by him. In Xiaoyan's opinion, the value of these 7 drops of scarlet blood would never be worth it. Weaker than the dragon, and even, in a way, stronger, this blood contains the extremely violent power of the magic dragon. This thing cannot be used indiscriminately, otherwise it will definitely make him fall into the tragedy of body explosion. But this is nothing to Xiaoyan. The problem is that he is an alchemist himself, and he is quite reconciled with the violent factor in these energies. As long as he is given enough time, at that time, he will be able to absorb all the blood safely. Therefore, this time, Xiaoyan not only collected the demon core of the demon dragon, but also these 7 drops are enough to cast the bloodthirsty form protective film of the bloodthirsty demon dragon, which is comparable to the blood essence of the 5-star Fighting Emperor's all-out blow, and the harvest is quite satisfactory. Go to the main hall. Xiaoyan and Yuru turned into a shooting star, heading towards the great hall deep in the mountains.